Planetary Ken. Welcome to the video edition of It's About Time, where we explore the difference between natural time and artificial time. I'm your host and cosmic sky watcher, Randy Bruner, also known as Cosmic Hand, transmitting aligned with the divine from 19.5 on the Big Island of Hawaii. It's about time. Aloha, Planetary Ken. Today is Blue Self-Existing Hand. It's the second day of 10 galactic activation portals in a row here in the Tzolk'in. And so what we're going to talk about today, what does that mean? What is a galactic activation portal? For those of you who aren't familiar with the galactic version of the Mayan calendar, the Tzolk'in is a cycle of 260, which is 13 times 20. And in most of the Maya depictions of it, it's a circle or a cycle. And so they depicted it in a circle. But this is what came through with Dr. Arguelles, and it is actually a linear layout of something that is circular in all of its other depictions. What we're looking at here is a column of 20 tribes. Here are the tribes, here's the column of 20, and then across you see 1 through 13, those are the columns. So it's a cycle of 13 by 20, there's 260 squares in this Tzolk'in. What we're looking at here is a pattern within that Tzolk'in. And the pattern is what we refer to as galactic activation portals. Now, why is this pattern in here? Well, one of the things that's important to recognize about this pattern is that it is quarters. You know, this one, this one, this one, and this one are all related because they have that position in the Tzolk'in. If you look at this one dot is 1, but you look down here, 2 bars and 3 dots, that's 13. So 1 plus 13 is 14. And over here you see 1 bar, 2 dots, that's 7. And down here is 1 bar, 2 dots, that's also 7, which equals 14. So 14 plus 14 is 28. So inside this cycle here is coded 13 by 28. Okay, that's where the 28 comes in the Tzolk'in. And so people are asking, well, where's the cycle of 28? Or, you know, why is there a 28-day calendar associated with this? Well, it's built into this Tzolk'in, but it's only really able to be identified when it's laid out in a linear fashion rather than in a circular fashion. But what you can see that it does is it forms a spiral, which is actually a double helix spiral around an open center. And this is actually a code in itself. The double helix spiral is how DNA would form if it weren't repressed by culture. What we have today is a 6-strand DNA. And the 6-strand DNA is closed in on itself. And as I said, if the chemicals and the molecules were forming, quote, naturally, they would form in a 12-strand situation, which would spiral on a molecular level around an open center rather than a closed center. This is an opportunity for us to contain light within our molecular structure. So our DNA is actually capable of holding light inside. And you say, oh, that's a 12-strand DNA. Well, what about 13? Well, the 13 is the open center. There's 12 strands of DNA, but it spirals around an open center. That gives us the 13, and the 13 then is where the light comes in. The light comes into the center because the 12 spirals around the center. So that gives you a little sense of how that system works. And we're also then looking at what we call galactic activation portals. Okay, so utilizing the 13 moon calendar in itself is a galactic activation portal because it's coded with 13 and 28, which are, as I showed, inherent in this system here. But most importantly, though, is these are days in the cycle of 260 where you can actually tune in to the galaxy, tune into the galactic energy more easily. Or I suppose better said, it would be a day when the veil between the dimensions is the thinnest. And you can actually find more easily synchronicity and coincidence to become the norm on these days. And often the one galactic activation portal day is related to another galactic activation portal day. And to make it more simple, we refer to these as gap days, G-A-P, Galactic Activation Portal, gap days. And so what we're talking about today is 10 gap days in a row. As you can see here by the illustration, on either side of the central column, there are 10 gap days in a row. And you can also see that the gap days always start on a World Bridger day and always end on an Eagle day. And today we are here, 4 hand, that's blue self-existing hand right here. And so we're in this second of the 2 galactic activation portal runs, gap runs. And the first one, since we're talking about time here, not just DNA, not just calendars, but time in general, this 10 days over here, before we get to the central column, is the gap days dealing with letting go of the past, or moving beyond the past, getting ready for the open central column where energy can come in, light can come in, information can come in, and then as we move past the central column, then we have 10 more galactic activation portals in a row, or gap days in a row. And that's what we're in right now. These are the gap days where we basically dream the future, and we can let go of the past, or we can actually re-dream the past on this side. On this side, we get to dream a future that is positive, that is beyond the materialism and religion and war of the patriarchal paradigm. So we can, let's say, dream the future in these. The other thing that's important to see here is that these 1 dot squares are where a particular wave spell begins. Wave spell is a 13-day sequence in the Tzolk'in, and each of these 10 gap days is in 1 wave spell. The first, dealing with the past, is the wave spell of the Serpent. Okay, and the Serpent wave spell is the wave spell where life force allows us to survive. And in order to survive, we really need to move beyond the past. We have cycles of time, and we keep repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. As humanity, we never ever learn from our mistakes. We always repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So in order to survive, we have these 10 gap days in a row to clear the past, to let go of the past. And the first of the gap days, again, is a World Bridger day. And so letting go of the past is bridging the worlds. And so this one over here, is in the Seed wave spell. So are you getting that? We're letting go in order to survive. Then we move into the Seed wave spell to set the tone for the future. So we're planting a seed in these 10 gap days over here. We plant the seed for the new possibilities, the new future, the new opportunities coming our way. And as I said, here we are in the self-existing hand point here. I define in order to know. That's what I'm trying to do for you here. I'm helping define these things so that you can understand, so you get to know some of the things that I know and that can be found within this magic of this Tzolk'in here. So the important thing to see is plant the seed. We're looking to the future. We're beyond the past. And going with what has been happening lately, going back to the other seed, you'll see right here, this one started in the seed wave spell. The seed before that was the 7 seed, which is where the galactic pulse came in. If you refer back to one of the other videos, we discussed the galactic pulse at length. And so the previous seed is in the central column. The light came in, pulsed all the way down and through and into the earth. And the very next seed is the seed wave spell, the planting of the seed for the new future. So the opportunity came in with that galactic pulse, and now we're in the 10 gap days that set up and define the future. And so these are things to ponder. Let's consider what's been going on in the stars and in the galaxy as something to look forward to operate from as far as how we dream the future. Let's see a new world for ourselves and for our children. So stay tuned. We're going to have more on these aspects in further versions of It's About Time.